Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow, the paranormal yacker. My guest on today's show is Mary A.Joyce. I'll be speaking with Mary about her book, Spy in the Sky, Secrets and Cover-ups on Earth and Beyond. Mary A.Joyce, welcome to Paranormal Yacker.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You, Mary, have worked for two major metropolitan area newspapers as a feature editor, Sunday magazine editor, columnist, and artist. Today, you write books, magazine articles, and are the editor and main researcher for the Sky Ships Overcatchers website, which features a wide variety of cutting-edge subjects. It was through your research for that website that you discovered secrets and cover-ups the United States government wants to keep hidden from the public. Those secrets are revealed in Spy in the Sky. What, Mary, was the first clue you came across that opened your eyes to the government's cover-up of UFOs?
Well, that probably happened before I even did the website because I used to live near Patrick Air Force Base and also the Kennedy Space Center. So I got to see a lot of things going on down there. But the website that I edit and do the research for, we've had since 2008. So in doing the research for that website, that's how I began to see these secrets and indeed the cover-ups. And I learned about the cover-ups firsthand. I'll give you a general example. I would post some of the things that I found using Google Earth, whether it be about Mars or the moon or the deep ocean or Antarctica, whatever it was. Within a day, sometimes those things would be blurred, wiped out, totally beyond recognition. There is a button on the keyboard for the computer. It allows you to print the screen. So anytime I have found something interesting, I immediately print the screen and save it. If I hadn't done that, I would not be able to show people the before and after cover-ups that have been more extensive than you might think.
Spy in the Sky is packed with mind-boggling visual evidence you've obtained that validates the authenticity of the secrets and cover-ups you write about in your book. How, Mary, were you able to obtain those photographs? You had just mentioned Google Earth. Was that the main source?
It's not the only source. It is a significant source throughout the book. I used Google Earth and used it as a search tool on Mars, on the moon, and here on Earth. That was my tool. And what I've done, because there are so many people who are into photoshopping and creating things that aren't true, I provide the coordinates for everything I've found so anybody can use Google Earth and go and find these things for themselves.
I will now go over some of your photographs and ask you to give me the backstory to them, if applicable, and your opinion of what you make of them. Here goes. Tell me about your photo of a UFO skidding to stop on Mars, a photo close-up of the UFO.
Let's start with the UFOs. I have a photo of one that I found, and these again are satellite photos that I have found using Google Earth. There's one that's parked on the planet, and it's huge. There's a measuring tool on Google Earth. I think it's 3.5 miles in diameter, which is really a good size UFO. It's circular. It has a raised center section, and in many ways, it looks like some of the UFOs that we've actually gotten photos of here from Earth. This may be bigger than some of those because, again, 3.5 miles is a good size distance. So that one looks like it's one that has not crashed. You can see the shadow of it. It looks like it has not been destroyed. The other are crash sites. The craft itself is over 400 feet in diameter. Now that's small compared to the first one, but it's still a significant size. It has a skid mark. Again, I measured the skid mark and it's over 4,400 feet in length before the craft actually plows into the surface or the soil of Mars. And so that's another image that I was able to get and put into the book.
Could you, Mary, tell me about the two entrances into Antarctica that you discovered?
Let me go back a second because you had mentioned the one about the 27 entrances into Mars, and I think that's worth mentioning. I found this because I started thinking a different way. Normally, when I explore a planet, I go from left to right or right to left. And one day I got the brainstorm to start going from pole to pole, from north to south pole. If I hadn't done that, I would never have discovered that there are these 27 entrances all in a line. They're spread out over 16 miles, and they're good size. They look like warehouse or airport places where they keep the planes. They're square cut, and in round figures, they run from 400 feet in width to over 1,000 feet in width, which means any of our largest planes could easily fly into any of these entrances. They look like they're all the same until you zoom in and you see the details. The trim around the edge of the entranceways varies from one entrance to another.
Now, can we go on to the two entrances into Antarctica that you discovered?
This is another one where I got to experience somebody covering it up and making it go away. I found two entrances into Antarctica. The largest one is about 300 feet in width and about 100 feet tall at its maximum point. Within a day of me posting it on our website, skyshipsovercachers.com, several things happened. The first thing happened was it looked like somebody took a bottle of India ink and poured it all over it, so you could no longer see the entrance. And then I zoomed back so that I could see both entrances at the same time. And for a brief amount of time, they were labeled with words. One said Hollow Earth Entrance 1, and the other one said Hollow Earth Entrance 2. That didn't last very long because the whole area turned into a sheet of ice like the entrances had never been there.
I would like it, Mary, if you can tell me about 5 ancient cities found emerging from Antarctica's melting ice.
I have to give credit to a gal who had a severe stroke at a very young age. She was confined to her bed, and she began following many things, especially the International Space Station. And she caught some great UFOs going by the space station, and sometimes we post those on the website. But she spent several months exploring Antarctica, looking for any signs of anything that might be interesting. And she found the ruins of an ancient city where you can actually see the box square wall structure of this city. Well, she really got my interest. And between the two of us, we ultimately found 5 ancient cities in Antarctica. Now, this is significant because the ice is melting really fast in Antarctica. Most scientists agree that continent has been covered in ice for about 34 million years. That means these are the oldest structures in the world. And these are being covered up too. I have a number of those where you can see them and then they're blurred. If you didn't see the original photo, you would never have guessed that there might be a city there. So that's another thing they seem to be covering up. Why they want to cover up ancient history, I do not know. As far as the entrances into Mars, I suspect that that was a very active entrance that is still being used, and they didn't want anybody paying any attention to it.
What do you make of the ancient undersea airport runways found east of Baja?
Again, somebody else triggered me to start doing exploring. Back in 2014, somebody discovered this huge underwater structure off of Mallow, California. And when I say huge, I mean huge. I measured the roof myself using the tools with Google Earth, and it's about 3 miles long. And then you can see the side view of it, and it has these huge pillars. I was not able myself to measure the size of those, but I'm told that they're about 600 feet in height, which is enormous. So I began to think, if they found this, there may be signs of other ancient sunken ruins along the coastline. So I spent a lot of time exploring everything from Alaska down to Baja Peninsula. The one that's the most interesting to me is the one you mentioned, which looks like a giant airport runway in, I guess it's the Gulf of California or off of Baja anyhow. And I put a photo of an airport today. Actually, it's the one from Spokane, Washington, right next to that photo. So you can compare and see how similar they are in structure. The big difference is the size. The largest airport runway in the world today is just over 3 miles in length. That one beneath the ocean in Baja is 89 miles in length. It's humongous. What in the world was flying in there? So my personal belief is at some point in our ancient past, there was a very different culture and perhaps very large inhabitants of that culture because everything is huge. And there's a lot of support for that. I did some research into discoveries in Micronesia, and there was somebody who ruled one of those islands in not too long in the past, and he found a skeleton of a human being, I guess, who was about 10 feet tall. So again, this implies that there was perhaps a race of giants that lived in a land that has now sunk, and it might very well be what people call the land of Mu or Lemuria, but it's very thought-provoking.
One of your photos is a close-up view of an extraordinary extraordinarily huge UFO flying near the sun. It has been dubbed the Flying Phoenix Hotel. What is the reason for it being called that?
The reason that we decided to call that is because when the technical man who worked on these, he zoomed in so we could see the details, and it looks like a hotel, or not the shape of a hotel, it looks like the shape of a flying phoenix, but you could imagine it being a hotel or being a condominium or being what I would think to be a giant cruise ship that's taking a tour of our galaxy.
Another photo you have is that of a close-up of a section of a UFO near the sun that's stretched out in space like an extension rod. Has your research, Mary, found an explanation as to why the UFO would be stretched out in that manner?
The objects that we have found around the sun, which anybody sometimes can get lucky enough to catch because you can monitor the satellite camera that monitors the sun constantly. And anything that we have found is bigger than our largest planet, which is Jupiter. There are a few things that are even wider or longer than the diameter of our sun, which is well over 800,000 miles. So whatever's happening around the sun is something way beyond anything that we might see in the sky from Earth ourselves.
What evidence have you discovered, Mary, of visitations by alien beings to the moon? And do you know, or if you don't, can you speculate as to why they would be exploring the moon?
There's been stories forever about ETs being on the backside of the moon where we can't really see them. Over the years, this has been substantiated by like Werner von Braun, by a wonderful gal who used to work for NASA, who became one of the early whistleblowers. And she went on a radio station in Washington, D.C. back in 1995, which is really a long time ago now. And she said that NASA airbrushes out thousands of images that they have gotten of UFOs and things on the backside of the moon. And in my book, I include a slide that came from NASA. And the slide has writing at the top of it, almost like a slide. And it has writing at the top and writing at the bottom. It talks about 2 towers on Mars and that they were altered by some tampering device. Those aren't the exact words, but in the book, I have the exact words that are on this, what I'll call a NASA slide. The stories she had to tell are incredible. She had another office that was not at NASA. And one day a man came in who worked at NASA and he had a big gash on his head. And she asked about it because she knew this man. And he had the assignment at that time of taking these UFO pictures and burning them. And he took time to take a closer look at some of them. And the guard that was watching him or bashed him over the head with the butt of his rifle. And so he had this big gash in his head from that. And the woman's name is Donna Hare. And she only died less than a year ago, but she was one of the brave early whistleblowers.
Strange organic-like UFOs have been seen by astronauts on their space missions. A photograph of one of them, that being from the Gemini 5 mission, is included in your book. Did the astronauts who saw the organic-like UFOs ever give their own explanations as to what it is they saw?
I have never found them. I just know that these are their photos. And I can see where nobody would be able to fully explore them. One of the photos that you're looking at looks like an electrified blue donut, and it's translucent, so it's like you can see the inside of it. It's very strange. And there's another one that looks like the inside of an old incandescent light bulb, with the wires and stuff that will always pop when the light bulb goes bad. I don't know if any of us here on Earth have explanations for some of the things that the astronauts were able to see.
It is evident, Mary, from your writings that alien beings have been visiting our planet for much longer a time than most of us thought, and their influence on various societies and cultures here on Earth also goes beyond what we thought. Why are we only learning about realizing that now?
The government doesn't let us know any more than we force them to share with us. And there's increasing pressure that cannot be denied. And so they are spoon feeding us information. I personally think that we are already on Mars, some of our astronauts. In fact, Professor Hyman Ashid, who was the head of the Israeli space security program for nearly 30 years, went public about this in December of 2020, which is about 2 years ago. And he said that our astronauts are working with the aliens on Mars and that they work beneath the surface of Mars, which might explain those entrances that we talked about earlier.
To your knowledge, knowledge, Mary, is the U.S. government in collusion with other governments to deny their citizens the truth about UFOs and alien beings?
From what I've pieced together, it sounds like we're a little bit more strident about keeping the secrets than some of the other countries. You can sometimes get information, if you dig deep enough, from other nations, but I don't know if any of them are coming totally clean with what's going on.
As a follow-up question to the previous one, do you have any idea, Mary, which country might be the first to break the silence and openly tell their populace that, yes, UFOs are real and alien beings have indeed been visiting our planet?
Just in a general way, it seems like South American countries are being a little bit more open about things that are happening.
Should viewers of Paranormal Yacker want to buy Spy in the Sky, Secrets and Cover-ups on Earth and Beyond, learn about other books you've authored, and check out your extensive website, how can they do that?
Everything starts with the website. It's skyshipsovercashiers.com. Cashiers is spelled just like a cashier at the grocery store. It is actually the name of a mountaintop town here in Western North Carolina where I live. Skyshipsovercashiers.com. If you go there and go to Editor's Corner, you will find brief descriptions of each of my books, and there's 5 of them that are currently in print. All of the books are available through Amazon.
Mary A.Joyce, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yacker. It's been an absolute joy yakking with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. This is Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. I hope you enjoyed the interview you just watched. To be sure you're amongst the first to receive new interviews when they're released and to have access to previous ones, subscribe to my free YouTube channel. To do that, all you have to do is press the subscribe button on your screen.